Razorback fans, we, I think, kind of have an update on Ron Holland. It's a good one, I think, for Razorback fans, but at the same time, I think it might not be. I don't know. Let's just talk about this whole thing because it's pretty wild.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I am also the host of Out of Bounds. You can catch every weekday afternoon from 1 to 4 on 103.7 The Buzz and 103.7thebuzz.com. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Tuesday, as there are plenty of things to talk about today as we get into basketball, football, and baseball once again, because there's big news going on with everything. But, we talked about it yesterday about the transfer portal and the craziness that has gone on with that. And it looks like there continues to be more craziness as it's just so insane. Like, it's insane in good ways, though. It's not like a bad thing or anything like that. But it's certainly something that's just this whole Ron Holland thing. The five-star player, the number 4 player in the country, the power forward that had so many people trying to get him on campus for them. And Arkansas was definitely in the running, and then he decommitted from Texas after committing to Texas, after choosing Texas over Arkansas, and it's just been craziness trying to figure out what's been going on. Well, we have a little bit of an update. It's at the time of the recording of this podcast where Jeff Goodman, who, say what you want about Jeff Goodman. I actually like Jeff. He does a great job of doing a lot of different things with being a basketball analyst at Stadium. He also deals a lot with the Field of 68 podcasts, and he's been at ESPN, CBS, Fox. He's been around a long time, and he's really good at what he does. But he tweeted out just yesterday about Ron Holland and the situation he finds himself in. And I'm just going to read his tweet verbatim, where he says, "The early indications of Texas decommit and hard-playing forward Ron Holland are on Arkansas and the G League Ignite as the frontrunners. But that could obviously change." That's what he said. So basically, it looks like Ron Holland is in the mix for Arkansas or going to G League Ignite. And then on top of that, Aaron Torres, who does a great job on the Aaron Torres podcast too, had a great catch where Ron Holland on his Instagram story was working out in Dallas and being down there in, just like a lot of basketball players do, working out in facilities and whatnot. But he was down there with Jordan Walsh working out. And we know that Ron Holland, of course, played at Duncanville, where Anthony Black was too. All the connections coming into place. A lot of people feel like he's still maybe leaning towards Ignite. That's what some people are saying. But certainly from the indications of what was talked about on social media and what came through fruition on social media, certainly seems like it's a legitimate possibility that he could be a Razorback. And, when Jeff Goodman tweets that out, like, it's one thing to say, okay, yeah, Arkansas could be in the running. It's one thing to say, oh, well, he's working out with Jordan Walsh, and which is always, something that's nice. But a lot of players do that in general. But when you have Jeff Goodman coming out and saying, hey, I'm hearing this, and it's between Arkansas and the G League, and then there are other people, too, that start saying, this is what I'm hearing as well, it starts to really put things into perspective where, at least at this point in time, I feel like Arkansas, and you should feel like Arkansas, has the 50-50 shot at it, because there's only 2 choices. It doesn't say Kansas, doesn't say Kentucky, doesn't say any of those other places. It just says Arkansas and the G League. So, how do you break this down? How do you look at it? Just pacing it from my perspective, and I know some people may just say it's my bias coming in, which, say whatever you want, but I believe that if I am someone like Ron Holland, and those are my 2 legitimate options of going to Arkansas or going to the G League, or in essence just playing college basketball or going to play pro. I know people that are like pro fans and like they love the NBA and stuff. They're like, oh, go to the G League. And I'm like, what does the G League really do for you that high-level college basketball could not? Like, now with the NIL and with everything that goes on with college basketball, like, truly, what can the G League, going to the G League, do for you that college basketball can't? The only thing I can think of would be the fact that if a kid does not want to go to class, he don't want to go and play school, he doesn't want to deal with the academic side of things, that would be at least the only thing I could see of why college would be some sort of, I wouldn't call it a bad move, but just maybe not a move that seems so crystal clear. Like, it would make sense that if a kid doesn't want to go to school, then go to the G League. But if you're weighing both options and looking at the pros and the cons, let's look at it in just this perspective for Arkansas. It's college basketball where you're going to be playing in front of massive crowds with massive energy. You're going to be on TV every game. And every game, tons of people are going to be watching. Tons of people. You're going to be featured on ESPN. You're going to be making highlights. You're going to be on social media a lot more. You're going to have the pageantry. You're going to have tradition. You're going to have everybody like having all eyes on you. You're going to have people that care about you. You're going to have people that are doing whatever they can to make it work with you. And then on top of it all, if you get to the NCAA tournament, you are on the biggest stage of college basketball, and everyone's watching in the country and being able to see what you can do and what you're capable of on the highest level of collegiate athletics. And then on top of that, you also have the NIL, which the NIL is, again, a game changer. And maybe I'm looking too much into this, but if you're telling me that the two choices right now for Ron Holland in this case is going and playing professionally in the G League or Arkansas, it once again tells you just how amazing the NIL is at Arkansas. If those are the choices, it tells you how good it is. But I believe that if Ron Holland wants to go to the pros, that's his thing. He can do whatever he wants, obviously. But I still look at it from the perspective of college is the better move. It is. Like, how many players have gone to the G League straight out of high school where it's just like, now they're having some, but it's like where because they went to the G League, they did so much better or got drafted so much higher or whatever than what they would have done in college. Like, I don't buy that. I'm not saying that you can just go to any college basketball program and it'll be the same experience. But if you're talking about a high level, big time college basketball program with big time coaching like what Arkansas and Eric Musselman have, then to me, that makes the most sense. And if I was Ron Holland, that would be the move I make. Even take Arkansas out of it. If it was Kansas, if it was Kentucky, if it was Duke, North Carolina, like any type of big time program, if it was that my choice to go there, play college, or to go to the G League, I choose college every time. Just because of the opportunities and being on that stage and knowing that my 1 year in this league and in this thing is going to be the most fun, most packed out houses, the most energy, the most high intensity thing. Like, it just, nothing beats it. It's so much fun. And so I really, really, really hope that he comes to Arkansas. And I just, going off of what I've been hearing and like what I've been seeing and knowing that there's connections there, not only is Eric Musselman and this staff doing a really, really intense job of recruiting him, but Anthony Black, Jordan Walsh, like there's a lot of players that are either on the team or were on the team last year that are saying, hey, come on to Arkansas. So I'm leaning, if you had to put a gun to my head and told me, I was like, all right, so what are you thinking? Like, what is it going to be? Honestly, I would say Arkansas. Like, that's where I would be leaning towards. Just because of the reasons I listed. I don't have any inside knowledge necessarily. But again, if it was me, I would want to go to college. I'd want to play at Arkansas. I'd want to be in that system. And just imagine this, folks, which I know we have so much fun about it. But just imagine that your post presence, or at least your big forwards, Trevin Brazile, Jalen Graham, Bay Fall, and Ron Holland. You serious right now? And then I think Jordan Walsh maybe comes back. You know, all the place pieces you've added in from the transfer portal, like, the team is looking really stupid talented, and it's already stupid talented. And in fact, if you see some of the preseason way too early predictions and all of that, you would see it and you'd be like, Arkansas is already a top 10 team in most people's minds, or at least talent-wise they are. But if you add a Ron Holland, one of the best players coming out of high school, a McDonald's All-American, bona fide dude, one-and-done player, that gives you 3 5-stars on this recruiting class once again. And they're a little different 5 stars because 2 of these guys are big men, or at least post players. You didn't have that this past year. So there's reasons to be excited. There's reason to be optimistic. There's reason to be hopeful. We'll see what Ron Holland ends up doing. But if what Jeff Goodman has said is any indication, and knowing how the whole Hunter Dickinson thing went a little quiet, and knowing what I was talking about a couple of weeks ago, or at least last week, I can't keep up with it, but when I was discussing about the names that you would be hearing about, there's one of them. And I guess we'll see how it plays out. But we'll talk a little football and a new addition there. That's actually a new addition here in just a second. But folks, I got to tell you about FanDuel. And with the NBA playoffs going on right now, new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's right, $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet does not win. And I'm telling you, it's so easy to use, and it's so great to have the different promotions and specials that they have each day, and you get paid instantly. So it's easy as that. So there's no better place to bet on all the playoff action than America's #1 sportsbook. So go over and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. This is one for Razorback football, where they actually got a nice little addition to the team. And this was coming from the transfer portal with a new linebacker. Cincinnati linebacker transfer Jahiem Thomas officially committed to Arkansas yesterday. And he was the guy that visited Arkansas back on April 20th. So he was in the mix now for the past couple of weeks. He's 6'4", 245 pounds. So you don't have to worry about the size being any sort of issue. But he was definitely on a lot of people's radars and entered into the portal earlier this year and decided to officially come on home to Arkansas. He was third on the team for Cincinnati last year with 70 tackles and second on the team with tackles for loss at 6.5. He had 2 sacks last year as a redshirt sophomore. So pretty good numbers there. And Arkansas, when they faced off against him back last season in the very first game, he had 7 tackles and 1 half tackle for loss in that game in Fayetteville. He played in 12 games, had 23 tackles and 1 half sack during a freshman season of 2021. And he entered the portal on April 16th. So he was a pretty quick turnaround, all things considered. He was a 4-star prospect in the 2020 class out of high school. And looks like he was a 4-star player as far as the transfer portal goes. He had offers coming out of high school to Michigan State, Tennessee, Kentucky, LSU, Maryland, and Louisville, as well as other schools too. And now he is the 14th player to pledge his allegiance to Arkansas out of the portal. He has 2 years of eligibility remaining. And according to On3.com, they have Arkansas right now ranked as the number 4 transfer class nationally. So here's the thing. Like, I don't know exactly what the role is going to be for Jahiem Thomas coming in. Like, it's, is it going to be an immediate starter as soon as he steps on campus? Is it going to be something that just adds depth? Don't really know. I really like the get. Dude has a lot of experience in the fact that he was on a Cincinnati team that not only was really good this past season and coached by a really good coach in Luke Fickell, but also was a guy who played in the college football playoff just 2 years ago for Cincinnati. He's got plenty of experience. He's played plenty of big-time football. And the fact that he's as big as he is and has the experience that he does, I think it's a tremendous get. And I continue to love what Sam Pittman has done in this transfer portal, not only getting high-quality players, but really addressing the depth issues that they've been getting after. Defensive line and linebacker and secondary guys. Like, those are the guys that they've been adding as much depth, which tells me that they're pretty satisfied. And, well, they added a tight end, too, which was a great get with Gums there. But they've been trying to put together, like, okay, we know what we're solid at. What do we need help at? Let's just go and focus on those dudes. We need help at wide receiver. Let's go get them. Boom, they got them. They're still in the mix for some people. Same thing with tight end, D-line, linebacker, secondary. Like, they have done a really good job of addressing everything. And I think this is just another indication of that. I could totally see Jahiem Thomas starting as soon as he walks into the door. I think he's good enough. He's experienced enough. And honestly, if you try to look at what Arkansas is having to replace, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and even at linebacker, I'm not saying he's going to replace Drew Sanders because we know Drew Sanders was elite and Bumper Pool was really good too. But just overall, I think that the team overall will be more talented this year than what they were last year. Now, when I say overall, I'm not saying, oh, well, this player is better than Drew Sanders. This player is better than, Jaden Hazelwood. This player is better than Matt Landers. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just like, if you took like the average talent rating from last year's team to this year's team, there's a really good chance that this year's team, this upcoming season, is going to be better. Because I think that, of course, with the quarterback and running back situation, you're great there. Wide receivers, you got some great options there. Don't know if the individuals will be better, but it seems like you have the type of players that you need to make this offense go. I think tight end you've upgraded. Offensive line, we'll see. D-line, I think you're going to be upgraded there. Linebacker, maybe about the same, maybe even upgraded. Just depends on how many players can go. Secondary, you for sure have upgraded. So they just continue to keep adding pieces there. And I think this is the latest one to where I really like the fact that there's 14 players and they're adding in the linebacker room. And I think they're still going to add another wide receiver. I think they're still looking at that. So any other time you can get position players that have experience and everything to come on in, I'm all for it. So they did, again, Sam Pittman and the staff have done a great job. They got to actually, go out and win. So that's key. But as far as adding roster depth and doing the things that they need to do, I'm still liking what they're doing, and hopefully they can continue it on as well. Get into the final segment and talk a little baseball here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. So stay with us on the other side of the break.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, so final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. We'll talk a little baseball here because we know that they're going to be playing Lipscomb tonight, actually, in Dickey-Stevens Park. Can't wait to go. It's going to be a lot of fun going out to that game and checking it out. But, this health thing is a scary deal because, I've heard some things about some injuries which have been going on to, players that we know have been ongoing, like some guys in the field like Wagner and Josenberger and things that they've been dealing with, but also have heard some other things too about some pitchers that may have been going through some injuries that actually looks like it's going to be a lot worse than what they thought. It's been tough, man, and it sucks. And it's just like, I feel bad for Dave Van Horn. I feel bad for the whole team, and they're still winning. That's what's crazy about this whole thing is like they're a national seed right now. Like they are a national seed. They are a number 6 team in the country. Number 5 by some people's standards. And they are more beat up than any baseball team I've ever seen in my life. And they're still a national seed. Now, they got to finish out the season strong because we know, like last year, they kind of went down by the wayside a little bit and struggled down the stretch. But, they just all the things that they've been doing has just been like incredible. And so I just really, really hope that this year they're able to, make it back to Omaha, be a national seed, and have some success and get everybody healthy again. Because I've said it before and I'll say it again. Like, I just do not want this season, this baseball season, to be looked back upon and being like, well, this team was really good, but, they would have won it all if it wasn't for all the injuries. And that's such a cop-out thing, and no one wants to hear it, and I get it because I don't want to hear it either. But man, it just makes you think, if this team was full go, if this team had everybody, if they had Jackson Wiggins, if they had Cody Frank, if they had, like Dylan Carter fully going, like if they had guys that are in the field that didn't have to deal with injury, like Josenberger, like Wagner, all the issues that were going on with Parker Rowland, if they didn't have Brady Tigert go out for that extended injury, if they didn't have Peyton Stovall dealing with some soreness and some tightness there too, if they didn't have just constant ridiculous injuries, it's just like if they were fully healthy, this team could be the best team in the country. Like they could be right there with LSU. Now I know it's not woulda, coulda, shoulda, and I know the season's got plenty of time left and anything can happen, but it's just so frustrating. It is extremely frustrating to see all this happening, and it's just a matter of getting guys back. And it makes no sense. I don't know what Arkansas, the university did, the athletic department did to get all these injuries, but just again, tip your hat to Dave Van Horn and this staff and in this team that they just keep on grinding, keep on just doing all the things that they possibly can. And you're seeing guys step up in a major way, which who knows, maybe that'll be something that's beneficial once postseason comes around, where you have guys that normally wouldn't have a whole lot of experience that are now getting a lot of that experience that you can count on when that time arrives and when that time comes around. So, but silver linings is what you need to look at. Maybe being a little bit more optimistic is how I need to look at it, and just feeling great about it and just trying to, just say, hey, it's the way it goes, but there's still a lot of baseball left, but still it's just, I hope they get better because I think the health of this team will cure everything. I think that if they can get everybody healthy that they're looking to get healthy, the guys in the rotation, the guys in the field, and if they get everybody that they're expecting to come back, I don't see any reason why this team can't be another team that makes it to the World Series and maybe even beyond. I know LSU is the team to beat right now, but they're not the best team I've ever seen. And as we know, never want to be that number one overall seed when it comes around to postseason play. So a lot of things can happen until then. But I just hope that they finish strong. I hope they get everybody healthy, and I hope that it all works out for this team because they got the talent, they got the ability, they got the know-with-all. And Dave Van Horn has got to be frustrated by it, but they just got to get healthy and get everybody back on track. Appreciate everybody listening into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter at BuzzJohnNabors for any questions, comments, concerns that you may have. We'll keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you then.